Boop. 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 Do 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 do. Hello, people. It's Mr.Harland here.
Jimmy, please say something.
Wondering what I'm doing, eh? Well, I'm glad to ask you.
James?
Well, I'm glad to tell you.
Who are you? Mom, I thought you told me never
It's
to talk to
another
strangers.
video.
Like I said before, Jimmy, please be nice to your new stepfather.
Okay, rich guy. I love it that you're twice as old as my grandfather and you're fat and bald.
That's enough! I've had it with you, you little brat!
Do, 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 do. That intro sometimes gets boring, but hey, it was fun to do. Well, I thought today was a very special day, in my eyes it is at least. Today we will be talking about Butch Cassidy. Yeah, I decided to poke around and see the top 10 burglars or cat burglars in America. And for whatever reason, Butch Cassidy was on that list. Oddly enough, I don't know how he'd be considered one, but he's a criminal enough. So today, we'll have a look into his life. Oh, it's night. I better fall asleep. Least I be robbed by Butch. Apparently he robbed people at night. I don't believe that. But regardless, today we talk about Butch Cassidy.
Hey, fight fair!
I must silence that. Come here. Stay. Stay like that. Come on. There we go.
No!
So for those of you who do not know who Butch Cassidy is, he is perhaps, his real birth name is Robert Leroy Parker, better known as Butch Cassidy. He was an American train bank robber and the leader of the gang of criminal outlaws known as the Wild Butch in the Old West. He was born on April 13th, 1866, and died on November 7th, 1908. He was born in Beaver, Utah Territory, U.S. He's had many other names, such as, the most known one, Butch Cassidy, Mike Cassidy, George Cassidy, Jim Lowe, Santiago Maxwell. His occupations were as follows: a farmhand, cowboy, butcher, thief, bank robber, train robber, gang leader, and outlaw. His parents were Maximilian Parker and Campbell Gillies. Hopefully I pronounced that right. His allegiance was Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch.
Maybe I should
I thought it was Butch. Bunch. There's your... I guess that's a blooper. Well, I guess there's your blooper of the day. His convictions. Imprisoned in Territorial Prison in Laramie, Wyoming for horse theft. Apparently horse theft was a big thing back then. So anyway, moving on. He served 18 months of a 2-year sentence, released on January 1896. Wow. Parker engaged in criminal activity for more than a decade at the end of the 19th century and the early 20th century. But the pressures of being pursued by law enforcement, notably the Pinkerton Detective Agency, forced him to flee the country. should come as no surprise, but the Pinkerton Detective Agency is still around to this very day. And to those who think, oh, the Pinkerton Detective Agency must be a fictional thing from the Red Dead Redemption games, no, they are actually quite a real, very real detective agency, and they still exist to this day. As a result, they had forced him to flee the country. He fled with his accomplice, Harry Alonzo Longabao, whatever that dude's name is, known as the Sundance Kid. Logabao's girlfriend, oh god, I'm having fun with this. At a place, the trio traveled first to Argentina and then Bolivia, where Parker and Logabao are believed to have been killed in a shootout with the Bolivian army in November of 1908. The exact circumstances of their fate continue to be disputed. Parker's life and death have been extensively dramatized in film, television, and literature, and he remains one of the most well-known icons of the wild mythos in modern times, besides Jesse James. And some other people. Billy the Kid. Robert Leroy Parker, which is Butch Cassidy's birth name. No one will call him Bobby. Hey, Bobby, go rob that train for me. Gee, that's terrible. That's such a terrible joke. He was born the first of 13 children of English immigrants, Maximilian Parker and Anne Campbell Gillies. The Parker and Gillies farms had converted to the Mormon faith while still living in the United Kingdom. Maximilian Parker was 12 years old when his family arrived in Salt Lake City in 1856 as Mormon pioneers. Anne Gillies was born and lived in Tyneside in northeast England before immigrating to the U.S. with her family in 1859 at the age of 14. The couple were married in July of 1865. Robert Parker grew up on his parents' ranch near Circleville, in Circleville, Utah, where Robert Leroy Parker would grow up. Parker fled his home as a teenager, and while working on a dairy ranch, met cattle thief Mike Cassidy. He subsequently worked on several ranches in addition to a brief apprenticeship with a butcher in Rock Springs, Wyoming, where he got his nickname by the word butcher, which morphed later into Butch, to which he soon added the name Cassidy in honor of his friend and mentor. His criminal career. Oh, lovely. Butch's first criminal offense was minor. Around 1880, he journeyed to a clother's store in another town, but found it closed. He broke into the shop and stole a pair of jeans and some pie. Really? Pie? What's with it with people want to steal pie? I will never get that. Leaving an IOU, promising to pay on his next visit. IOUs are never good. Why not just wait till they open back up? But of course, he's a criminal, and he wants that pie.
Bored.
No one cares if you're bored. The clother pressed charges, but Cassidy was acquitted by a jury. He continued to work on ranches until 1884, when he moved to Telluride, Colorado, ostensibly to seek work, but perhaps to deliver stolen horses to buyers. Cassidy led a cowboy's life in Wyoming and Montana before returning to Telluride in 1887, where he met Matt Warner, the owner of the racehorse. Cassidy and Warner raced the horse at various events, dividing the winnings between them. This would eventually lead to Butch Cassidy's first bank robbery, which took place on June the 24th, 1889. The robbers stole around $21,000, equivalent to $6,005 in 2020, after which they fled to the robbers' roost, a remote hideout in southeastern Utah. In 1890, Cassidy purchased a ranch on the outskirts of Dubai's Wyoming. This location is across the state from the notorious Hole in the Wall, a natural geological formation, and a popular hideout for outlaw gangs, including Cassidy's during the era.
Hello there. Care to come see my collection of
Cassidy's ranch used the unmistakable brand Reverse E Box E.
never gonna get married. I hear a Bullworth kid got
In early
rabies from rat bites.
1894, Cassidy became romantically involved with rancher and outlaw Ann Bassett. Her father was a rancher who did business with Cassidy, supplying him with fresh horses and beef. The same year, Cassidy was arrested at Lander, Wyoming for stealing horses and possibly running for a protection racket among the local ranchers here. Well, there. He was imprisoned in the Wyoming State Prison in Laramie, where he served 18 months of a 2-year sentence. He was released and pardoned in January of 1896 by Governor William Alford Richards. He became involved briefly with Bassett's older sister, Josie, before returning to Anne. Formation of the Wild Bunch. God damn it. Bunch. Cassidy associated with a wide circle of criminals, most notably his closest friend, William Ellsworth, L.Z. Lay, Harvey Kid Curry Logan, Ben the Tall Texan Kilpatrick, Harry Tracy, Will News Carver, Laura Bullen, God damn it, George Flatnose Curry, who collectively became the so-called Wild Bunch. The gang assembled sometime after Cassidy's release from prison in 1896 and took its name from the Doolin Dalton gang, what a dumb name, and also known as the Wild Bunch. The gang had committed a string of other crimes, but eventually, I guess you could say, all good things, or in a sense, the age of the outlaw came to an end.
I'm going to get a house on the hill.
And eventually, the gang eventually ended. From 1900 to 1908, the gang had committed a string of bank robberies and train robberies. Most notably on July 3rd, 1901, Kid Curry and a group of men robbed a Great Northern train near Wagner, Montana, bagging more than $60,000 in cash, equivalent to $1,870 in 2020. The gang split up, but a posse led by Sheriff Elijah Bryant caught up with News Carver and killed him. Kilpatrick was captured in St. Louis, Missouri on November 5th at Yosi Blakey's resort on Chestnut Street. They found a key to the room at the Laclede Hotel the next morning. As for Curry, he was killed in Knoxville, Tennessee. Policemen William DeWindle and Robert Saylor in another shootout on December 13th and escaped. Oh. I appear to have screwed something up. I have mixed up words in my mind. Curry killed Knoxville policeman William DeWindle and Robert Saylor in another shootout on December 13th and escaped. He returned to Montana, pursued by Pinkertons and other law enforcement officers, where he shot and killed rancher James Winters in retaliation for killing his brother Johnny years before. Escaping to South America.
Now, what
Cassidy and Lagabao. I can tell you for a fact that dude is turning over in his grave right now. This bike looks nice. They departed from their Buenos Aires, Argentina, aboard the British steamer Herminius on February 20th, 1901, along with Labao's companion at a place. They would pretty much live in South America until pretty much almost undisturbed until 1908, when his death had happened. A courier was carrying the payroll for Arameo, Frankie, and Sia Silver Mine on November 3rd, 1908, near the small mining town of San Vicente in southern Bolivia, where he was attacked by two masked American bandits believed to be Cassidy and Longabao. Witnesses saw them 3 days later in San Vicente, where they lodged in a small boarding house. Oh, my bike skills suck.
You're dressed exceedingly.
House owned by miner Boniface Casarola. Casarola became suspicious of them because they had a mule from Aramiro mine. The witnesses had then notified authorities, and they dispatched 3 soldiers under the command of Captain Justo Concha.
Look at me!
Look at you, what? You didn't do anything. And you're just my paper boy. Get me my newspaper when I'm done with this. And they notified the local authorities. The soldiers, the police chief, the local mayor, and some of his officials all surrounded the lodging house on the evening of November 6th, intending to arrest the Arameo robbers. Why don't they just call them the mayonnaise robbers? There you go. As they approached the house, the bandits opened fire, killing one of the soldiers and wounding another, starting a gunfight which lasted for several hours into the evening and into the night. At around 2 a.m., during a lull in the fighting, the mayor heard a man scream 3 times in the house, and then 2 successful shots were fired from inside the house.
I'm going to tell your mother about your behavior!
You got in my way! Anyways, the authorities entered the house the next morning, where they found the 2 bodies with numerous bullet wounds to their arms and legs. The man assumed to be Logbao had a bullet wound to the forehead, and the man thought to be Cassidy had a bullet hole in the temple. The police report speculated that, judging from the positions, Cassidy had probably shot the fatally wounded Logbao to put him out of his misery, then killed himself with his final bullet. The Tupiza police identified the bandits as the men who robbed the Arameo payroll transport, but Bolivian authorities did not know their real names, nor could they positively identify them. The 2 bodies were buried at the small San Vicente cemetery near the grave of a German miner named Gustav Zimmer. American forensic anthropologist Clyde Snow and his researchers attempted to find the graves in 1991, but they did not find any remains with the DNA matching the relatives of Cassidy and Longabao. In 2017, a new search was launched for Cassidy's grave, which zeroed in on a mine outside Good Springs, Nevada. The dig found human remains, but they did not match the DNA provided. Perhaps they disturbed the graves of some Civil War soldiers? Who knows?
Gotta be someone.
You won't be beating anyone. You can't even beat someone. Let alone yourself. Rumors of survival. There are such things. John McPhee's Annals of the Former World repeats a story that Dr. Francis told to genealogist David Love in the 1930s. Smith stated that he had seen Cassidy, who told him that his face had been altered by a surgeon in Paris, although this could never be confirmed. Then again, for those of you who are familiar with the show, Pokemon, there is a certain couple of Team Rocket called, well named, the boy is named Butch, and the girl is named Cassidy.
Have a nice trip.
Butch Cassidy has lived on in films, books, TV shows, and as you just heard, Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Butch is terrible. Realistically, anyone in Team Rocket would suck at catching Pokemon, as neither Jesse or James could get... Well, to be honest, neither of them could really catch Pikachu anyways, so no one cares. Well, that's it for today's video. I know, it's sad. I'm going away again. I'm disappearing. I'm withering. I know, it's sad. It's sad. It's sad. You want to shed tears and cry. But don't worry. Do not frown. I will be back. Death is but a doorknob. Time is but a window. I will be back. And remember, if you liked this video today, be sure to like, subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Well, thank you, Butch. Marching in, doo-doo-doo, when Jimmy goes marching in. Oh, how I'm gonna punch this next person. And don't worry, Mr. Harland will make another video. The Seattle Crackers suck. I'm sorry, Colton Harrismore, but it's the truth. Let's go, Blues. Let's go, Blues. I'm taking your bike. Come back here. Well, I must go. I must go. I gotta go. Hit the road. Hit the road. Goodbye.